Hello everyone and welcome to Build Fix for November 2024, Black Friday edition. This is my regular monthly series where I help people who are trying to build a computer choose their parts a little bit better. This is proudly sponsored by PCPartPicker. I have 3 builds to cover today. We have entry level, mid-range, and high-end, so let's get started.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by the Paul's Hardware store on paulshardware.net, the only official source for Paul's Hardware merchandise. Tantalizing t-shirts, brilliant beer sets, high-quality hoodies, and more, all featuring the classic thumb screw for tasteful and refined viewers, or the 8-bit thumb screw for tasteful and refined viewers who hate curves. New designs are added sporadically and at random, so head over to paulshardware.net and get some of that sweet, sweet merch right now. Or not right now, after you watch the video. Either way. Before we dive into the parts lists, which are all linked in the video description by the way, let's quickly explain how this works. A day or two before I shoot this video, I do a community post. Here's my post for November where I ask people to submit their parts lists. And I also do a poll. And the winner of this month's poll by a narrow margin was apple pie. Barely edging out apple pie, with chocolate and cherry coming in 3rd and 4th. Usually at Thanksgiving I'll make like an apple pie, a pumpkin pie, maybe a chocolate cream pie. But I also have to give a shout out to pecan pie. That's my dad's favorite and definitely a favorite in the comments section. I couldn't find an emoji to make pecan pie. Apparently there is a peas and a can, and you can do that by JCat96. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. I also wanted to point out that on my store, paulshardware.net, we have our annual merch sale going on, so get yourself some merch. We got some new beanies, we've got these premium zip-up hoodies. New mouse mats, new shirt colors, it's all really awesome. And then finally, I want to mention that I did 2 videos last week talking about the best GPUs to buy this holiday season and the best CPUs to buy this holiday season. I'm going to be leaning on those for this video, but check those out if you haven't already. But now let's talk about the first build we're going to fix. This was submitted by Hardware Issue 3588. It's an AM4 build with a 5700X 3D CPU, still one of the best CPUs for a gaming system. Now, I chose this build as sort of a starting off point for an AM4 build. I actually didn't make a huge number of changes, and with all the builds that are linked in the description, I left the GPU out because that's a big part of the overall cost of a system, and you can part out an entire system except the GPU and then swap in various GPUs that might work depending on how much money you have left over for a GPU. Other than the 5700X 3D though, we have a 7900 GRE chosen, a B550M Pro VDH Wi-Fi motherboard, which is an excellent choice in the budget range for this platform. We have a 32GB DDR4 3200 speed kit. We have an ADATA 2TB SSD, a Montech Air 903 Max case, and an 850 watt power supply. So those are the parts we're working with, and I definitely sympathize on having limited dad time. Same situation over here. Okay, so I used PCPartPicker to build out the parts list as recommended. I had to swap a few things here and there, but we do have the 5700X 3D. We do have an inexpensive air cooler, only about a $20 Thermalright Assassin Spirit. We have that same MSI B550M motherboard, which is only $90. UMax brand memory either isn't available in the US or is not listed on PCPartPicker, so I swapped in a Team Group T-Force Vulkan kit. This is a 32GB kit, DDR4 3200, and CL16. There were no other kits in the sub $50 range that had this nice trifecta of specs, while remaining competitively priced, and Team Group also has one of the best price to performance / capacity NVMe SSDs with the MP33 2TB, which is currently going for about $90. I'm glad 2TB SSDs haven't stayed above $100. You can still get a pretty good deal on these. For our case, we have the Montech Air 903 Max, and this is a really solid case for only around $60 to $70. There's a few variants of this. I chose the Max because it comes with 4 fans pre-installed. Other than that, it's a pretty standard mid-tower ATX case, but it's got a great price. And then I did swap in this power supply because MSI has some pretty good deals on their power supplies for Black Friday time. And then one of the only changes I made here is the power supply. I went with a 750 watt instead of an 850 watt. And please bear in mind, I did this because a lot of people who are building on a budget might not be going with the 7900 GRE GPU. And MSI has a great deal on their 750 watt 80 plus bronze rated PCIe 5.0 power supply. It's only $60, and for anyone who doesn't need more than 750 watts, this has a 300 watt 12VH power connector. And those are very convenient to have if you're going to be installing an NVIDIA 40 series graphics card, or perhaps in the future 50 series once they launch in 2025. Now for the wattage for your power supply, you should always check the graphics card that you're planning to run with. The 7900 GRE, for example, you want about an 800 watt power supply, so there is an 850 watt version of this unit that's also linked down in the description that you should switch to if you go for a 7900 GRE or any GPU that recommends above 750 watts. Also note, 12VH power connectors don't always supply up to 600 watts of juice. This one is specifically rated for 300 watts. If you look at the adapter that comes with your graphics card, or if you reference your graphics card specs, if it has 2 of these 8-pin PCI Express graphics connectors, that's a 300 watt plug. If it has 3 of them, that's 450 watt. If it has 4 of them, like a RTX 4090, that's a full 600 watt adapter. Now, a couple more notes on this build. The 5700X 3D is currently available for $200. That's a great price for a really good gaming CPU, and it's an 8-core processor too. It's perfectly fine for production and actually doing work. But do note that Newegg has a reasonable deal too. It's $30 more over there, but it comes with a free DDR4 32GB kit with purchase. And I was thinking, oh, it's probably like some crappy kit that's like super low speed and horrible timings, but it's actually a G.Skill Ripjaws 5 DDR4 3600 speed kit, cast latency CL18, so that's like a perfectly fine kit. It's a perfectly good kit, so always keep an eye out for combo deals like this. It's a great way to save some money. Just make sure that the comboed item is not something that's super cut down on specs that they're just trying to like throw in for free to get rid of inventory that they might have. This is a good kit. But as mentioned, I left the GPUs off of these parts lists because that is something that's pretty flexible that you might want to spend more on or less on. I also want to mention there's a compatibility warning here, and that's just letting you know that this motherboard is going to need a BIOS update to recognize this processor. Newer batches of motherboards, they will ship with an updated BIOS, so there's a decent chance it will recognize the 5700X 3D out of the box, but you might need to run a BIOS flashback before you get your system up and running. But okay, without a graphics card, our base price for the system is about $572. The budget price I'm aiming for here is $900, which gives us a little over $300 to work with to add a graphics card. And the $300 go-to graphics card right now is AMD's Radeon RX 6750 XT, available for $290. Double checking PCPartPicker, I can see that is the lowest price currently available for the Power Color Fighter model of that card. So if we drop that onto our parts lists, we're actually coming in a decent amount short of $900. I guess if you add tax, it'll be about $900, but $862 or so. This is like a really solid system, and I haven't even cut corners, really. Like, we have a good 750 watt power supply that's gonna be able to support a graphics card even higher end than the 6750 XT. We have a 2 terabyte SSD for your main operating system and a decent number of games. We're not cutting that down to 1 terabyte or 512 gigs or something. And we have a solid fast 32 gig memory kit. Really, the only downside to this system is that it's AM4 based, so your upgrade path isn't going to be very wide open. For that, you'll want to upgrade to my second build. And the second build is derived from this comment from blank8941, who I believe is over in the UK because I'm seeing British pounds symbols here. Hey, and congrats on being a new dad at 35. I didn't realize I was doing a dad thing with this one, but we can keep it up. We have a 7700X base system. That's AMD's 8-core on their newer AM5 platform. 360mm all-in-one liquid cooler, which is totally fine, but I'm actually gonna swap that to an air cooler just to save a few bucks. Sticking with the 32 gig RAM kit, we have a B650 motherboard here, which is actually MSI's Project Zero. I opted for a different motherboard to save a few dollars, and because not everyone needs that hide the cables thing. If you do need that, then by all means spend a few extra dollars on a B650 Project Zero motherboard. Just make sure that your case has the back to front compatibility like MSI's M100R does. Other than that, we have a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. I'm gonna upgrade that to 2 terabytes, an 850 watt power supply, the MSI Ventus 3 OC 4070 Ti Super Graphics card. Really big chunk of this cost at 739 gibips. And then the target budget was about 1,500, so they've gone 50-ish pounds or pence or tuppence over. But the last comment is why I chose this build. For anyone who's looking to build like a nice system with like the 7800X 3D or the 9800X 3D, that's tough to do right now. Chips are hard to find and prices are kind of high. But if you did want to build a system now and take advantage of some of the Black Friday deals, give yourself an upgrade path later to switch over to one of those X3D CPUs or maybe another one that comes out next year. Well, for that purpose, this is the build I would point you towards. But our cost without the graphics card is about $150 to $200 more than that AM4 system. So that's kind of representing the cost savings you can get by going with AM4, because we still have a 32 gig memory kit here. We still have a 2 terabyte SSD. Actually pretty comparable in terms of the specs because we also have an 8-core processor. Do note that in some gaming scenarios, the 5700X 3D will actually outperform the 7700X. So really the reason to go with this AM5 build over the AM4 would be because you want to leave that upgrade path open to yourself in the future. I upgraded from the $20 Thermalright cooler to the $35 Thermalright cooler, the Phantom Spirit 120, which is highly recommended for pretty much any CPU that's not like a 12 or 16 core. I also saved $70 or so by going with the B650 Eagle AX ATX motherboard, which is $140 instead of $210 for the back to front connector board. Back to front is Asus, it's MSI, which is Project Zero. You do need to pay a bit of a premium still for DDR5 memory. That said, it's a DDR5 6000 CL30 kit here, also from Team Group. They have really competitively priced memory kits. And again, just since it's a simple solution, the Team Group MP33 2TB NVMe SSD is still there. I swapped over to the Fantex XT Pro ATX mid-tower case because it's a case I've been recommending a lot because it's only about $75 to $80. Comes with fans, good build quality, easy to build in. And then I did upgrade the power supply. It's still 750 watt, but it's MSI's 80 plus gold certified model. It's about 20 bucks more, but this one does also have the PCI Express Gen 5. It's actually 12V2x6, not 12VH power, so it's the newer version of this plug. And again, take a look at the graphics card that you're going with and consider spending $5 to $10 more on the 850 watt version of this power supply. It's got all the same specs, it's just 850 watts instead of 750. That runs down the list of parts. Just a couple things to note before we choose a graphics card. The 7700X is totally a solid choice for about $260, but it doesn't come with a cooler, so you're gonna need to add 35 or so for that, making it about 300 bucks for the CPU and the cooler. You do have another option though, if you wanna go AM5, but you wanna save about $100. But your other options here, the 7600X, which is a 6-core instead of an 8-core, comes in just shy of $200, and this one doesn't come with a cooler in the box, so you'll still need to add a CPU cooler. And then you have the 7600 non-X, which is going to be the best budget option for the AM5 platform, in my opinion. It's $179 right now, and it comes with a Wraith Stealth cooler that can get you up and running and save you a few dollars to get your system going. And then the last option to mention here would be the 7600X 3D. This is a Micro Center exclusive, which is why PCPartPicker doesn't have pricing for it or anything. This is a $300 CPU. It's going to get you much closer to the 7800X 3D and 9800X 3D performance levels, but you do need to be able to physically go into a Micro Center to be able to buy one, and that's not an option for everyone. And just like with our AM4 build, there's a range of graphics cards that you could slot in here. For about $300, we have the 6750 XT, which would be my recommendation, or there is the RTX 4060, which is also selling for just shy of $300 right now, about $285 is the cheapest one. The RTX 4060 is just it's a severely cut down graphics card from NVIDIA, and I don't think it's really worth the money at $300 when you compare what AMD offers. You only get 8 gigs instead of 12 gigs of VRAM. That said, some people, they just really want to go for NVIDIA. Maybe they're planning to use DLSS, or they want to use something that takes advantage of CUDA support. In which case, I don't blame you. Go for the 4060 at this price. As also mentioned in my best GPUs video, and all these are linked in the description there, best GPUs under $500. This is trifecta of AMD options. The 6800 XT has actually started to go out of stock, but the 7800 XT has come down to $450. That's for a 16 gig card. This would be a great option for either the AM4 or the AM5 build. Yeah, so that's down another 20 or 30 bucks just from like a week or two ago. And then the step up from there is the 7900 GRE, and this is like just so much like raw performance for $530. Do note that the 7900 GRE I think is an 800 watt recommended power supply, so swap to the 850 watt unit if you go for a 7900 GRE or above. And yes, if you're looking at NVIDIA on this side, just shy of $400, you have the 4060 Ti. Again, we're still looking at an 8 gig graphics card, but about $385 is what those are going for. And then you'll need to spend about 100 bucks more than that if you want to go for an RTX 4070. And if you're sticking to NVIDIA at the $500 price, this is the card you should get. And these are discounted somewhat. They're down to $490. $10 off that $500 price. But okay, just to finish off this build as originally proposed with the 7700X B650 motherboard, 32 gigs of VRAM, 2TB SSD, 7900 GRE paired with the 850 watt version of that power supply, and that brings us to about $1,300. $1,300 for a full system build that includes a 7900 GRE 16 gig graphics card. All right, our final build is from tininppa with an Ryzen 7 9800X3D. We're going high end here. Going for a high end build with the best CPU currently available for a gaming system, which would be either the 9800X3D or the 7800X3D, because the 9800X3Ds are all very overpriced and hard to find right now. But other than that, we have a sensible B650 motherboard, again a 32 gig memory kit, Apparently Tinin had like a GTX 980, I think, that was used, but then they tried to play PUBG and there was whiteout and the smoke and stuff. So RIP GTX 980. Yes, you could run on the integrated graphics for a few months, but I don't know if you gotta do that. The integrated graphics on the 9000 series is not for gaming. Like, they're for functional, like plugging in a monitor, you can do 2D stuff, but I wouldn't try to game on it much. But anyway, 1TB SSD, Fractal Meshify 2 compact, 850 watt power supply. Once again, I've brought those over onto our list here, and you'll probably notice the first thing I did was swap from the 9800X3D to the 7800X3D. And if you want to know why, it's because the only 9800X3Ds currently available are selling for close to $700, which is absolutely absurd. MSRP is $480. You shouldn't pay much more than that. Their stock is limited right now, and it's the best CPU for gaming. That's why they're marked up, and between the two, I would go with the 7800X3D right now. I would actually go with the 7600X3D right now to get you by for $300 until 9800X3D prices become more sensible. But this is build fix, and I can't recommend a build without a CPU. So 7800X3D, since this is a high-end build, I went with an AIO, a 360mm all-in-one liquid cooler, but it's only $78. We are spending a little bit more on our motherboard because we're going for a pristine white version. That said, this is the X-Ace B650E. There is a $20 or $30 less version that's just B650 if you don't need quite that much I/O. We again have a 32 gig memory kit, DDR5 6000 CL30. This was $82 from Team Group. We have the same 2TB NVMe SSD, Fractal Design Meshify C. That is different from the Meshify 2 compact, but I couldn't find the compact currently for sale, and the Meshify C stays below $100. It's still got that nice Meshify look on the front, which is distinct and also provides lots of airflow. Only downside to this case, I'd say, would be that it only comes with 2 fans. Might want to add a couple more. And lastly, we've added that 850 watt power supply, which is, again, is only $5 more than the 750 watt version. If we're choosing a graphics card and we're going higher end and you want something beefier than a 7800X3D for $450 or a 7900 GRE for $530, then the next step up is the 7900 XT, which gives you 20 gigs of VRAM. Those are currently selling for as little as $640, actually $625 with that promo code. And then the highest end graphics card on the AMD side is the RX 7900 XTX, 24 gigs. That's still going for about $820 or so, which is a bit more expensive. So I would totally understand if you're looking at this range, if you've got your eye on either the 4080 Super or the 4090. Now the 4090 is selling for closer to $2,000, so that's entirely up to you if you want to spend that amount. I would say right now, don't spend $2,000 on a 4090. Wait until the RTX 50 series comes out, because those should be announced in the first week of January at CES. Subscribe for my CES content because I'm going to be going there and doing lots of coverage. But let's go with something sensible. Oh look, a $950 4080 Super, the Zotac Gaming Amp. Available soon. Oh no, available now. Add to cart. Nice deal there, Zotac. I mean, I know it's only $50 off a $1,000 card, but it's an NVIDIA card. You got to take what you can get. Okay, and with all that added in and paying the premiums you got to pay right now for like a 7800X3D, because these used to sell for like $350, and then I guess the premium you got to pay for the NVIDIA tax brings our total to 2065 or so, which for one of the highest end gaming systems you can build right now, outside of an RTX 4090, in which case add $1,000 to that price, I'd say that's pretty reasonable. But guys, that is Build Fix for November 2024. Again, the parts list as well as some individual components that I think are good deals are all linked in the video's description down below. While you're down there, if you want to hit the thumbs up button, that always helps me out. If you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, that is a great call too. I've got lots more content coming at you real soon. Some builds, I think, some ongoing deals videos, lots of stuff still coming out before 2024 ends. Thank you guys so much again for watching. Thank you to PCPartPicker for sponsoring this series, and we'll see you all in the next video.